magnificent. Good morning, Colonel, sir. Fine bright today. I hear down at the village, prices is picking up, and it's a big year for cotton.
And heroic, a charismatic superstar who leapt off the screen. Men wanted to be like him and women wanted to be with him. But in real life, he was complicated, longing for recognition as both an actor and writer. Devilishly handsome and charming, he was a risk-taker who flouted society's conventions and inevitably landed in trouble. For him, life was a series of adventures. Making movies was one.
Well, this is Colonel Braxton Beauregard Burlique the Fifth, adventurer, treasure hunter, swashbuckler extraordinaire, at your service, madam. Well, tonight's talk is going to be about an early 1900s German artillery sword, field artillery that is, for the 46th Regiment. Now, this particular sword is it's a non-commissioned officer sword, and you say, well, Colonel, how do you know that? And I'm not any sort of dagger expert like, say, Thomas Whitman. I would never put myself in his class. I'm a mere amateur. I've always said I'm a fifth-tier collector. You know, I'm not buying, you know, like Hermann Goering's dagger, or, you know, I don't know, Heinrich Himmler's pistol, like, say, maybe on Legacy Collectibles, or, you know, except one time, though, allegedly, Walter Kunstler tried to sell me Adolf Hitler's underwear, but I declined. I passed on that. Even if it were real, I'm not interested in that sort of thing. But anyway, the reason I can tell this is, I believe, a non-commissioned officer is there's no wire on the handle. My understanding is if there's that wire that goes in the, you know, in the grooves there, that would be an officer's sword. So I believe this was a non-commissioned officer's sword. But the blades for these are actually I think they're identical, actually. But I'll show you one. I have another one which I couldn't find. So I'll show you this one. Let me just pull this out. As you all know, the old colonel does love swords. I think any swashbuckler would love a sword. But what I like about these is they have the etching on that. And as you can see, this one has that field artillery, the 46th Regiment. I haven't looked it up. There's some sort of city there, that German city, and you got the scrolling there with the I believe that's the German eagle there with like a pike helmet with the round ball. That indicates, you know, that's artillery. And you got the flourishes there, and we got the horse there. You see, because that was all horse-drawn cavalry basically. Then up to the World War I, even into World War II, the Germans, most of their field artillery was horse-driven. Didn't have the trucks, at least enough of them, although there were trucks obviously in World War II. World War I, there were a few, but mainly, you know, the horse-drawn units. And as you can see, actually on the other side here, we got this etching actually shows that there's the artillery piece being drawn by a 6-horse team, and you've got the isn't that interesting how you have the crew of the cannon? You got 3 of them sitting on the caisson, which would be the wagon there, little wagon that hauls the ammunition, and you got 2 sitting there on the gun itself. That's quite interesting. Of course, you have your commander at the front there. And again, you have the nationals, the scoring. You got, what is that? Looks like the flag and a sword and a bugle, like right here, if you look at that. I found these swords interesting. I've always have. Now, they don't bring the big money like your Nazi swords, but I've always enjoyed the German stuff, even the earlier stuff from World War I and before. Oh, here's another thing I'd point out, if you ever see any of these swords. This shows the regiment there. In my book, it deciphers it. That would be the 46 would be the regiment. It's artillery, and this would be, I suppose, maybe the one. I think that might be one battery, and then the 52 is the individual number of, whoever had this sword. Maybe if some research was done, we actually might be able to tell who had this sword, if the record still exists. But I find these swords interesting. Now, again, they're not worth the big money like, say, a Nazi dagger. But I've always enjoyed, as you all know, a sword, because after all, I am a swashbuckler, and I use swords in some of the RKO productions I was involved in, and I decided years ago, if I did find an interesting sword, that I'd pick it up, and I've always enjoyed the swords. And what's interesting about these are that's a presentation sword. It has the etching on, and it's an interesting story on the etching on those swords. They would have a form for that, the pattern, and they would apply an acid to the blade, which would basically make the image on the blade, and then you have the well, I should probably show you while I'm talking about this, y'all. Let me see here, pull this out. Like, for instance, the background, that would have the back, the black background. The etching would put the lettering in. It's like a pattern that they would set up, and they would basically run the blade through that and establish that. But these were mainly presentation pieces. They weren't ones that mainly used in the field. There'd be, although some were used. This one here, I don't know, maybe it was over the years, it even has a ding on there. But generally, those would be something that a soldier would maybe keep at his home, put it over the mantle, and there were some, of course, that did use them. But I just find that those really tell a story, and I do enjoy a good yarn. So, but anyway, I just thought I'd show you, a sword. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I do enjoy a nice saber. Anyway, I'm going to sign off now, y'all. Well, this is Colonel Braxton Beauregard Burlique the Fifth, adventurer, treasure hunter, swashbuckler extraordinaire. At your service, madam. Signing off. Goodbye, y'all.